tell you what, I've worked on this thing all day today, and I thought maybe I would let you guys get clued in as to some of the little secrets I think I could share with you. I'm not quite done with it insofar as the entire thing, but I'm going to flip this around here in a second and show you what I've been doing. This is the sculpt that I've been working on, and I've got the face covered so I can safely do this. So Jason Brooks, don't get mad at me. Alright, y'all ready? Here it goes. Alright, now you can see here, I'm bringing it to my own camera. Here's the bottom of the sculpt. This is what I'm trying to work on now. This is the trachea area where the throat is. Now that's exposed. Y'all have seen that in some of the photos. And some of the patterns in here where you have the trap muscles and stuff like that that are coming in. So what this pattern down where you can, hey Linda, how you doing? Where you can see all the definition in the muscles and stuff. Now, I have a mask on him, so you can't see his face. But this is the skin texture here. And of course you guys have seen Jason Brooks in the skin texture here. And I've done that. And then there's some bone exposure right here. Okay, so this is a big piece of bone exposure right here. And I'm going to sit down here for a second and just go around this thing 360 degrees. Now the back here I still have to work on, but there is a bit of a backbone exposed here. Earlier when I started this thing about a month or so ago, I tried to cast a piece of spinal column from an actual backbone I have out in my shop. And I wasn't able to do that. So, you know, I've got like little signatures in here, definitions, stuff like that. So I'll have to go over this, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that and get this texture right here. This texture, to show you guys really closely, this is called road rash. And this is the texture on here that is done. I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. Now I go over here on this side, and you've got the piece that comes off where the ear is. And there is not an ear, supposedly, but it's an ear canal. And then you've got more of the sinews and the traps and stuff like that that I've got to define. Now, the thing about this road rash, which I'm going to show you here, is I simply do this. Thank you very much. My wife just turned on the lights for me. I'm going to put this over here, facing you, right here, so you can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to show you the technique that I do to get that skin effect. Let's say right here on the back that I want to do this on here, okay? I've got a heat gun and a Brillo pad, alright? So I take the heat gun, put it on low, heat it up a little bit, and you'll see the clay start to get like mushy and melty and kind of a little just rain over just a little bit. Wait for it to start to liquefy just a wee bit. You don't want to melt it all the way. You just want to do it a little bit. And what this does is it gets the clay to where it softens up and it gets like runny and mushy. And so what I can do is just take this right here like this, go over the clay, watch for it to get all shiny and nice and warmed up. Alright, here's the spot right here. Alright, then I just take the Brillo pad and I just mush it in there, right? And kind of roll it around. I just take the Brillo pad and just kind of pull it out. And just do that and just kind of go up and down and pull it out. And that's it. That's it. That's all it is. So I'm take it and just kind of squish the Brillo pad around, and you get a little bit of a force. Now I've got some custom rollers that I'm doing, that I'm getting in, and they're going to be coming in from Scandinavia here in about a week. And what I'm going to do is the same thing. I'm going to heat this up and take those rollers and just go across, and it's going to make that spongy, porous material. But the thing is like here on the neck, it's got some line details in the back of the neck. That's kind of like part 6. And all I do is just kind of heat that up a little bit, get it kind of wet. Not really wet, but a little bit goopy and runny. And then I just take one of my sculpting tools and I just draw lines in there. And when I draw lines in there, it softens the clay up. And it just does that, and it just makes these lines that you just put lines anywhere. It doesn't have to be any pattern, doesn't have to be anything like that. It could be anything, right? So you got all these drippings and stuff. You'd think I'd want to remove those. Well, see, then I take this heat gun and I go back over it. And that softens the clay and makes it nice and runny and melts it. And so then it gives it kind of like a runny, waxy effect. And it looks like it's really drippy, nasty, mushy skin. And that's it. Now you take the Brillo pad and just kind of roll over it a little bit on top of that. Give it a little bit more of a spongy effect. And you kind of see how that blends in a little bit. Let's see how that blends in. Let me see if I flip this around. Okay, you do the runny effect, and then it kind of blends in with the little road rash and sponges. I just take that when the clay is a little bit damp, not wet and moist, and just kind of do that and sponge it in. And it gives it like a raised flesh effect. And so you have the areas where I just cut strips. The clay kind of melts and it molds, mushes in together. And then it gives it kind of, I might do that again. Hang on just a second. So put that up there. And just do that over there again. Let that get kind of soft and runny. And then once it gets soft and runny, I just let it kind of run into itself and kind of get melt mushy. And it will do that on its own. So that way when you see it do that, it just kind of looks, you know, mushy. It just runs into an effect. Now, like I said, I can't show you the face. But I do have parts in here. This part right here is where the hockey mask would attach. And there is a bone, what do you call that? A degrade area where the hockey mask. Now, see, this thing is, it's probably twice the size. It shrinks. So I've had to make this, I've had to sculpt this thing about twice the size of the buckle or the strap part would press in and cause pressure on the back of the head. Erosion spots like right here, this is kind of soft and mushy. I need to put some more clay in here, so I'm gonna do that real quick. I'll just put a little bit more clay in there because that got kind of too soft and it's almost down on the form. It's mushy. So what I'll do is just jam some clay in. And what I'll do is just shape that out later. Let that get mushy because in some of these areas I've sculpted. I don't know why it's doing that poor wireless connection. But I thought this would be a personal signature for me. Put like a knot hole in the back of his neck. Where it'd be like, you know, you see a knot hole in a tree. So if you ever see one of these masks, you'll know it's mine because there'll be something like this. There'll be a knot hole little heart signature, little indentations that are like this. So, I'll be able to, you'll be able to recognize my mask pretty easily. Even if somebody else comes along and does another version, these are just little artistic signatures I put in there to distinguish mine from whoever else may come along with a version. So, that's just kind of going around here, like I said. No facial details. This, by the way, happens to be the Voorhees mask that I got from Corey Kaufman. This is the Voorhees mask from his film that has yet to come out. And it fits very well over the face. So it hides all the details. There's no details whatsoever being shown. Like I said, I'm working on the traps and the front. And I'm going to hit the heat gun with this and kind of try to melt these down a little bit and flatten them out. And that's what I thought I'd show you guys, with doing this, that I could flatten this out with a heat gun, which I'm going to do right now. Now, these aren't movie accurate per se. I'm going off of photos that were given to me by Jason Brooks. So what I'm doing is just trying to get it about as accurate while I'm doing my own signatures on it. So get the kind of soft and mushy and melted and that type of thing, and just make that a little bit soft and mushy, and then I can go back in there and shape it up with a tool, usually a flat tool like this, and then come over here and just kind of smooth that out, flatten it out a little bit, because it is a little bit of a flat edge. And this is just me doing this on my own. This is coming out of not just the photos, but also out of my head. So I don't have any reference materials on how to do this, other than just my own imagination and photos that I'm working from. And so what I want to do is make this blend in very nicely and make it kind of blend in. At the same time, it's got to get definition. So I got to show definition of the different pieces of the character. At the same time, I want to give it my own personal touch. So you guys are really going to not only just like this, I hope, but you're going to be really awed by the movie. I've been speaking with the director, Jeremy Brown. I'm trying to convince him he needs to release not only the edited version, but Jeremy, if you're listening, I'm telling the people that you need to do an unedited director's cut. Since you're the director of the movie, you need to do an unedited director's version. Don't skip out on anything, dude. Especially the gore. We want the gore. That's what we want. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. But I'm telling you, you guys, this is going to be an absolutely awesome movie. I believe, and this is in my heart, I believe that this could be about as close to a studio version direct sequel and an actual studio type Friday the 13th film. This is about as good as we're going to get until Hollywood gets off its ass and does its job, or Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller get off their asses and quit, griping about money and rights and all that stuff, whatever that hullabaloo is, because it's all about money for them. They know that we want Jason, they want to give us Jason, but they want to make as much money from Jason as they can. And that's what really irritates me about this whole thing, is it's all about the money.
And it's become less about the fans than it is about the money. And that's what really is sad about this whole thing. And you got two old men squabbling about who owns the rights to what. And, you know, I don't understand all the court ins and outs of it. But I will tell you this. If they can't do anything the right way, they really just, that's why everybody's gotten into doing the fan films, because Hollywood can't get off its ass and do anything right. It's all about how much money can we make. They never do anything, I don't think they ever do anything for fans exclusively. They just, it's all about money. You know, I mean, the guys, every single one of these guys in this film, involved in this film, in Vengeance, they didn't get paid. They donated all their damn money to the Shriners Hospital, which is a very, very honorable. And I can't believe all the hard work and everything that went into this, making this movie. That's why I'm so damn proud that Jason Brooks allowed me to do this. Because these guys are, they have the same morals and ethics and stuff that I do. You know, they really, really, really love the movies, and they love the kids, and they want to help the kids. And this, what better way to do that than make a film that hundreds, millions of people can see. And I'll bet you anything, if there's sales of DVDs and all that stuff, I guarantee you that money will go to the Shriners too. And see, that's the wonderful thing about this thing, is not just because it's a Friday the 13th fan film, but because all the money went to help kids in need. And that's one of the things that's really, really, really special about this movie, is because they go out of their way to help kids in need. And if you've seen any of the interviews that like T.J. Bowser and some of these other guys did, I think Mike from the movie, Mike, I'm butchering the shit out of your thing. Mike the Movie Raid did an interview. T.J. Bowser from, oh, what the hell is that thing? Dead something or other. I can't remember. I can't think of the name. But they did an interview, and they were talking about, even in the documentary that they did on Steve Dash, they were talking about how could they include Steve in it and, you know, make the movie and include him in it. So they didn't bring Steve out. They went down to Florida, from Washington to Florida, to do it with Steve. And that's like, you know, you just go all out on something like Hollywood doesn't even do that shit. They cut corners and do all kinds of things so they can, you know, so they can save money or whatever for their directors and stuff like that, to have the big houses and big cars and all that shit. I don't know what it is, but I can just tell you, Hollywood doesn't have the morals and the morals and everything that Jason Brooks and all the guys that were involved with the Vengeance film do. C.J. Graham donated his entire paycheck. Steve Dash donated his entire paycheck. Everybody that was going to stood a chance to make good money on this film donated their entire paychecks to the Shriners Hospital. And I couldn't really donate any money at the time, so I volunteered to be able to do something like this so I could do something to contribute to it as well. And some of the money that I will make from this, I'm going to flip this around. Hang on. I'm going to tell you right now, face to face, on this feed, if you guys buy these masks, I'm going to donate some of that money to the Shriners Hospital too. because this is something that, like I said, I couldn't give for the Kickstarter and all that, so I got involved with this and doing this. So I am going to donate, and I'm going to make that promise and vow right here, right now, that when I start selling these things, I'm going to take a portion of this and donate to Shriners Hospital for each sale, because that way I can be giving a part, as like the guys in the movie did, for what they're doing, because they donated their paycheck. I mean, obviously I can't give 110% of every single sale and proceed, but I could do 25, 50% possibly. It depends on how successful. These things go out the door like hotcakes, and it'll be more money, that will go to the Shriners Hospital. And like I said, I will vow to do that, because like I said, Jason Brooks was honored and respected me enough and trusted me enough to work on this project and to do this in complete secrecy and everything. So that's exactly what I'm going to do to honor that part as well. Is I'm going to put a portion of the proceeds that I make from this to the Shriners Hospital. Now, I need to find a flashlight, because I need a little bit more direct light on here to show you guys what I'm doing. And I've got a little bit of direct light here, and I'm just going to go over this thing here, and I'm just looking at the photos. I've got them on my laptop, and I'm not showing anything that anybody would see. I'm not endangering my word by showing something somebody's not supposed to see. So what I'm trying to do right now is get the definition of the trachea. And this is kind of hard, because I'm not really good on human anatomy that well. I am very good on animal anatomy. And of course, animals have tracheas just like humans do, but they don't have it defined like we do. So all I'm doing is making definitions of cuts and stuff like that. I'll go in, hit it with a heat gun. I don't know how thick this clay is on the throat, because when I lay a slab of clay down, I did this in sections. I did the back first, and I did the face, and I did the jaw, and then I did this part, and then I just kind of had to melt and mush it all together. And the reason I did it in sections is because when you're doing the face, and you're doing the mouth, and you're doing other things that are really high detail and high definition, with a bunch of details, I didn't want just slabs of clay and sit there and do all at once. So I just had to make sure that I had the right things, and then at the same time have to coordinate them and make sure that they come out right. So I don't know how far I'm trying not to scratch all the way down through the clay, because if I do, then I will ruin the effect. And I really don't want to do that. Probably have to thin this out a little bit. If you guys have seen the pictures of the throat, you know that this is a exposed trachea. So it's very hard to sculpt bone, aside from flat pieces of bone. It is very hard to sculpt just regular bone in there. So, and what I've got to also do is I've got to remember that what I put in detail-wise here has to transfer to latex and resin. So not only am I trying to do this to get the definition down as best as I can. But I'm also trying to do this where it will come up in silicone and latex and resin. Because the first thing I do when I finish a sculpt like this is I throw a silicone sleeve over the whole thing. Once I've got all the details down and I've got it the way I want it to be, I will throw all the silicone on there and get all the details in there and transfer it. That's for two reasons. One, if something happens and this clay gets deformed in the mold, or the mold breaks and I lose the mold, and I don't have a hard copy to work from, like a latex master, then I can take the silicone sleeve and I can melt clay down, like with the heat gun. I can melt it down. You can use a hairdryer, melt it down and pour it in the silicone, and then after again, just pull the silicone off and you've got the sculpt there again. And I've done that with all the work that I've done to save it, because the fact is, when I first did a sculpt, I lost it in the molding process. And that was one of the tricks to save your work. So I do that, and I try to tell other people about it, but people think I'm crazy. They don't think I know what I'm doing. They forget, or they don't know. Like I said, and I've said many times, I was a taxidermist for a hobby taxidermist. I never had a full-fledged business. I did help a guy in Nebraska, run one and did a little bit in Oregon. And then, after my dad died, I kind of lost interest in everything and just kind of, it went by the wayside. And I didn't really pick it up and move on with it. So this is just a rough pattern here. And like I said, this is a rough pattern here. And what I'm going to do is hit this with the heat gun. Melt that down. You see it melting. Kind of gets mushy and melty. And take that off. Just take this again and just shape the goo clay. And just goop it and shape it and that type of thing. And that's all you do. Kind of hard for me to work in this lighting, because I've got an overhead lighting. Then I got the mask on so it doesn't show the face. And it doesn't do any damage to my reputation or anything by me not giving my word that I was not going to do that. So I just kind of do that and then just smooth it out, and I just got to make that look like it's a trachea. So it's just a rough outline right now. Of course, it's going to take about a day or so. I'd spend all day on this tomorrow, and I probably will not get it defined well enough as I like it. But it'll come around eventually. It might take me a few hours to get it perfectly right. I may have to pull clay off of here, like, just come down here and pull some lumps of clay off the bottom. Or go out there to the shop and get some more. Melt it down a little bit, and then just put it out here. And just take it and put it in here and just, mash it in here and form it. Just get regular clay and just start forming a throat. That's all you gotta do is just form the throat. Now that kind of looks weird and spooky, doesn't it? All I do is just do that and just make the throat like that. And just, like I said, this is my own interpretation, so it's not going to be absolutely 100% perfect. But I definitely want it to look like what it's supposed to look like. In order to do that, you got to build it up, you got to peel it away, you got to go back and forth and work at it. And I spent all day today. My wife will tell you I did nothing. I watched a little bit of Karate Kid. We finished season 2 on that. But pretty much this is all I did today. And I did get a lot done on it. I mean, I got more done on it than the first day I started about a month ago, and I just kind of got caught up with the Godzilla stuff and other things and just didn't get back to it. And then Peter Anthony said, oh yeah, we were shooting for the end of June release, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get back on this. So, it may not look like much now, but once you get the rough definitions of what you're going for, and you mold it, like I said, that heat gun is your best friend sometimes with this, because you can soften up the clay, and you can really, as a matter of fact, I'm going to hit that again, hang on. Let's see, do I want top or bottom? I want bottom. So I don't want to do it too much, because if I do it too much, it'll just melt everything, it'll get goopy and runny and gooey, and it won't be that well to work with. So I just kind of mash that up there. A little bit of definition there. And of course, the trachea is a solid bone. And of course, it's a solid bone, so you want to kind of push everything up and make sure it's well defined. You've got to give it shape. Where just take your fingers and just kind of lay it over. Mold it in there. Kind of lay it over. Once you've got it just where you want it, and so far as a rough shape, you can take a detail tool and just go in and draw, basically draw. And so right now I'm just taking some off the sides here. I'm coming down here. Just taking that off. Jim Jones, yeah, you keep saying I'm the man. I'm not the man, dude. I am I am a man. I'm not the man. But as usual, you appreciate it. So like I said, this is just, and this, I'm not going to do this forever. This is just kind of showing you guys how this works. And so you got a rough thing there. Hit it with a heat gun. Melt it down a little bit. Kind of form and shape it. You can take a tool and, you know, it's got to be some kind of definition. To get this to look like bone and to look like a throat. So look just right. It won't look just right when you first start out, but after you start playing around with it some, that's the way you need to look. It'll come out the way and do exactly that. Now see, I haven't really, in the past, haven't showed any sculpting. You know, there was no need to. You know, I just figured people took me on my word that I did this, and that was it. And you know, but with all the debacle that's been going on lately, past few months, I thought, I'm not going to take any chance. I'm going to show everybody, because I want those people who doubt and hate us to realize they were wrong and they were mistaken, and they're running around like a bunch of damn Democrats and they're hollering, recasting, all that bullshit, like a bunch of damn Democrats. And it fucking makes no sense when somebody tries to give their word that they do something, they do it on their own. So, I'm sure people out there that are a lot better at, there are probably a lot of people better than this than I, because my My forte was not sculpting human parts. My forte was sculpting animals. You know, things like that. Animals. I don't really have any special, you know, this will take a while. But anyway, clear as you can see it, that is the trachea area. That's the trachea area right there on the throat, the exposed area. Not done, it's just shaped. So, one's the bitches. So what I've got is, like I said, you know, with all the road rash and everything I've done, still got to work up the definition for everything else, but, you know, I've got it pretty much. Hell, I'm going to throw this phone away. Yeah. Oh yeah, Tim Jones. Justin Watson is a big one for that. He loves to just ask information about all kinds of shit and where did you get that and whose is that and what are you doing with that and blah blah blah. Well, he's one of the ones that is the wormiest to get somebody in trouble and be the first one to run around and try to snitch on people and tell people, oh, he's recasting, he's doing this. So now you see, this is my table. This is my Ed head, this is my clay, this is my mask, and these are my two goddamn hands, and these are all my little tools, and the Brillo pad, and the heat gun, so you see everything, and there's my laptop, with no photos on it. But there you go. So now, nobody can say, I didn't do it. So, you know, for what it's worth, that's where we stand right now. I'm going to probably have this done within less than a week because I'll be able to do so much, and then those pour rollers have to come in, and when they come in, I have to get them done. And so that's pretty much it for now. So I just thought maybe I got kind of proud about doing what I did today and how I got it accomplished and all that stuff. So I thought, well, I'll show everybody what I can. That way they see it. So I'll take a couple of photos and post them up, and then that way everybody can see. Topher, hi. Thank you for joining. Let me show you this. Well, the Vengeance Jason right here, Topher. Of course, you recognize this mask. This mask is from the Voorhees film. That's not the Vengeance mask. I have one of those coming. But this is the Vengeance Jason. I've got the photos and stuff from Jason Brooks. I've been working on this for about a month, off and on, and just got this detailed down and everything like that. I'm just getting it, going into uber details. We're showing some of the, showing some of the techniques and stuff that you might use in creating some of the effects, like here on the head. I've got this road rash effect, where it's kind of like fleshy bits and stuff like that. Now, the only thing that worries me about this is how well is this going to show up in latex? Because latex, as you guys know, is not a very forgiving. Now, there's a piece where here where there's exposed bone. There is going to be a, that's probably going to be about a little bit deeper. And of course, this part right here, the hole where the hockey mask suppressor would be right there on the back of the head, that would also be bone, as well as the exposed spinal column and a little bit of this oak tree. I call this my oak tree effect. We have a knotty pine effect. That won't be exposed bone so much as that will be just fleshy bits and that type of thing. So I'm just wondering how that's going to translate to latex. I know in silicone and resin, it's going to come up good. So there it is. You got a 360-degree view minus the face with a mask on it. So there we go. So I'm going to continue working on this, and then probably later this week when I get a little bit more defined and stuff like that, I'll bring you guys in and show you, like if I fix up the trachea and that type of thing. I'll show you guys all that. Okay, so we will